welcome to this session. In the earlier sessions, we had seen the introductory components of database management systems, like what is the database approach, how it is different from the file based approach, what is the kind of data representation in the DBMS, and we had seen various data models like the hierarchical data model, the network data model, the relational data model, the ER data model, and the object oriented model. So, in this session, let us continue our discussion with how these particular records are being organized in a file, that too when they are being stored in the secondary storage devices. Before going to start our discussion, let us throw some focus on introductory concepts like what is the definition of a file and how they are being organized. A file, as you know, is a collection of records. Like suppose if you take the case of a table consists of several records. So, each and every record is called as a tuple. So, all the collection of interrelated records is called as a file. The key element in the file management is concerned with the way in which records themselves are organized inside the file. Suppose if you are organizing them in a sequential fashion, so the way that we are organizing is it in a sequential file organization. The method that we are going to use is the sequential method. Suppose if you are giving the chance to randomly search the record, then we call that technique as the random search method. So, obviously when we are organizing these particular records inside the file, it affects the system performance heavily whenever we want to retrieve. The way we are storing these records on the file obviously affects the system performance. So, we have to judge depending upon the techniques that we are going to discuss in this session. You have to select the best technique for the requirements of the user. Access method of records in a file is dependent upon the physical medium on which files are stored. So, there are two types of access methods. One is, as I told you, sequential, and the other is the random. Sequential access method is best suitable on magnetic tapes, and the random access of records is best suitable on the disks. So, let us see what exactly is the file organization and what are the techniques those are available in order to organize the file. File organization is nothing but it is a way of arranging the records in a file when the file is stored on the secondary storage device. Suppose there are, as we discussed earlier, there are three abstract levels in a DBMS. One is the logical, physical, and then the view level. In the conceptual level, we just design the layout, or else we can call that one as a blueprint using the ER diagrams and other things. In the logical design, we design the relational schemas, and actually when we talk about the physical level, that we talk about the storage level wherein which exactly the data is being stored. So, the data whatever that is stored in the form of tables in the logical level exactly is not the way those are stored on the storage devices. As it is, the table is not stored on the storage device as we look and feel in the logical database design. So, there are several techniques, there are several arranging methods in order to store the records in a file. So, let us see what is a file. It is nothing but a collection of related data or facts. So, how is a file created? It is created by grouping the records, and the record contains various fields, and the field contains data items. In turn, data items contains the characters. For example, suppose if you think student is a table, student ID, student enrollment number, student address, then pin code, and the course registered for are the columns. So, again as to those particular fields or columns, we create the data for 10 persons or for 20 persons or 30 students. So, those 30 records are called as the tuples or else the records, and each and every field contains a data, respective data, student ID for the first student, his name, address and other column names. So, likewise this data type, obviously whenever we talk about the data item, it is nothing but the value that the column contains. So, suppose student ID starts with 001, then I can say that the data item, the value of that data item is 001 for that student 1. So, it is nothing but it is containing some digits, some integers. So, this is the hierarchy that it is maintaining whenever we are talking about a file. File consists of records, a record contains fields, fields contains data items contains characters. So, this is the hierarchy that we talk about. Each character occupies 1 byte of storage in the secondary device. So, that we have to remember. Depending upon this particular storage space occupation, we decide the size also in the data types. Whenever we declare the data type, we obviously whenever we need to mention the size, we declare or else we decide the size with this 1 byte of a character occupies 1 byte of storage space. Let us see one example here. In the context of a traditional library, the author catalog is a file. You can treat an author catalog as a file, complete catalog, and each and every individual card of individual author, you can treat it as a record, and each column in the card such as author title, you can treat it as a field. So, hope you understood this particular concept and the hierarchy. Let us move on to the objectives. So, what are the basic objectives that the file organization fulfills? Optimal selection of records. So, records should be accessed as fast as possible, that is the main motto. Whenever we are storing some records in a file means the accessibility should be efficient, should be fast. Suppose if you want to update the record, it should be quick, it should be easy, it should not harm other records, it should not disturb other values stored in the other records. And once again, there shouldn't be any duplicate records induced as a result of insert, update or delete operations. Records should be stored efficiently so that cost of storage is minimal. Here we are talking about the cost of the storage space, the space that is there in the secondary storage device. That particular storage space should be utilized very efficiently. So, these are the objectives of the file organization. So, keeping in mind those particular objectives, there are several techniques designed that we are going to see now. There are two types of files in a physical database structure. One is the data file and the other is the index file. When we talk about the logical design of a table, we talk about the columns and the values stored in the columns or else the records and the values. Here when we talk about the physical database structure stored in the secondary storage device, we talk about the data files as well as the index files. Data files are nothing but they store the facts that comprises the database, those are nothing but the values of the records. Index files support access to those data files, but usually do not themselves store facts other than the key values. So, these particular index file acts just like a book index. Like whenever we want to see some sort of random search, we first of all skip to the index page, we see the keyword, against to that particular keyword we see the page number or else some index number. So, according to that particular number we try to access the actual data. So, the same way here the data file and the index files work. Let us consider an example here, a simple bibliographical database. It consists of records containing bibliographical details about books. Each record about a book consists of several fields like author, title, imprint. For faster access to these records, index files or inverted files are created. Each record in which may hold the index term, one is the index term and the other is the index number. So, depending upon the index term and index number, it retrieves the data from the bibliographical database. Then let us see the organization and the access methods. Most of the students confuse about this organization method as well as with the access methods. The method of organizing the record in a file is nothing but the file organization or file structure. There is nothing but organizing the records in a file is file structure or file organization. The method of searching the file in order to retrieve the data is called the access method. Here we are accessing the database to find the record either by randomly or either by sequentially. So, do not confuse with both the terms. I hope you understood the meanings of these terms. For a particular file, the most appropriate organization is determined on the basis of operational characteristics. Suppose whatever the operations that we are going to do on the databases, those particular operations become the basis, and also not only that, the media that we are using also is one of the factor contributing to the characteristic. So, these two things we have to remember. The most appropriate organizations needs to be selected on the basis of the operational characteristics and the storage media as well as the nature of operations to be performed on the data. So, these should be remembered. Basing upon keeping this as the basis, you have to design the file organization technique again as the DBMS. Then magnetic disks, as you know, are the example of direct access storage devices. You can access any record directly on the magnetic disk just like in a random way. When you talk about the magnetic tapes, these are the example of sequential storage device. So, whenever we want to store a new item, it stores it appends and it stores at the end, and the access method will be in a sequential fashion. Then let us see the types of file organization. One is the sequential file organization, indexed sequential access method, heap file organization, hash or direct file organization method, B plus tree and cluster file organization. These are the various file organization techniques available. So, depending upon the characteristics, operational characteristics, the storage media and the access methodology, we have to select one of these file organization techniques. Let us see one by one. Start with the sequential file organization. This is, as you know, is the very simplest technique. Records are written in a sequence in a long listing manner. They are arranged in the same sequence originally entered or keyed in. The file is read from the beginning in the sequence in which the records are arranged. As and when the records we are keying in, the records are being stored. So, let us see in the diagrammatic way in the next slide. To retrieve, start at the beginning of the file, read one after another in sequence until the record is searched for. Here you can take one example, a audio tape which we were using in the earlier 80s or 90s. There, suppose if a audio tape consists of 10 songs, and right now the position is on the head is on song 1. In the audio tape, if you want to listen to the 7th song, sequentially you have to roll down to the 7th. So, just try to interpret the same thing in this particular access method also, where in which if you want to try to retrieve a record in the end position or after some records are passed over, you have to sequentially move and then you have to access the data from there. So, it is most suitable for storing only the archives, the backups and transport copies of databases. Suppose for a commercial need and daily transactional activities are going in a bank or in an insurance company, you should not use such kind of a technique, wherein which if at all a customer comes and asks for the data, or if you want to verify some data against the account number or so, then you have to randomly check. If at all you started sequentially checking against the data, it takes more time. So, the best suitable options are whenever you are using for the archives, whenever you want to keep some backup in the tapes, and whenever you want to transport some copies of databases to somewhere, then you have to use this technique, file organization technique. Just see, this is the way that the sequential file organization works. Beginning of the file, the record 1 is there, then after there is a record 4, record 3, record 7, likewise it is growing up to R5 and end of the file is R5. Let us see how to insert in this sequential organization technique. Suppose if you want to insert a record here. So, inserting a new record in the sequential file organization requires creation of a new file. Why? Because whenever we talk about the sequential file organization, it obviously sorts the records on some key factor, it sorts the records. So, to maintain the file sequence, records are copied to the point where amendment is required. So, suppose if I want to insert some R7, then what it does is the changes, it maintains a file sequence, all the records till 6 are copied, then 7 is insert, and later on it starts from the next record. So, the changes are made in the fashion wherein which extra file is required, a new file is required. In order to maintain some temporary file, it involves some cost factor also. So, let us see the diagrammatic view of the inserting of a new record. That is the here you can see the original records R1, R2, R3, R4, then R5, R7. I want to insert record 6 over here. So, what it does is it stores all the records on a new file till R5, then it copies the R6, then it follows with the R7. So, there lies a kind of overhead here, copying the whole information onto a new file, once again amending and once again copying the rest of the records. So, it includes some sort of cost factor also. So, this is the biggest disadvantage with the sequential file organization technique. So, sorted file method always involves the effort for sorting the record, that is first disadvantage. Then comes whenever we talk about the insert, update or delete transaction, the whole file is to be copied onto a new file, then amended, and later on or the rest of the records needs to be copied. So, this makes the system slow and even the cost factor also involves. Then comes an improved technique called as indexed sequential access method. This particular method, keeping the drawback of the sequential access method as we had seen, a kind of index is introduced in this particular second technique. The limitation over there is it is completely of sequence fashion, and they try to overcome that particular limitation by introducing a index over here. So, this particular access method like improvises the mechanism of faster search. This technique allows both sequential as well as the random processing, and a file is sequenced on a particular field and an index for that file is built based on that very field. So, here you can see an additional introduction was there called as the index file. So, apart from the data file that we have, here an index file is being introduced. So, let us see, this is the way the ISAM is there. Here in the physical database structure, it is maintaining two files, one is the index file and other is the data file. So, what it does is, suppose if the data is containing a primary key, let us take an example of the student table itself. Suppose if you are identifying the student ID as the primary key to access the records. That particular primary key we keep it here, like it maintains in the index file, and also a field will be there, and that field is called as a pointer to the data block. So, it maintains for each and every record, it captures the key field, that is primary key field. Along with that primary key field, it fetches and stores the address of the data block of the records. So, here the cost factor is nothing but it is maintaining the index file in addition to the data file, but the advantage we are getting is the access is becoming faster, and also it converted to random organization from the sequential organization. So, these are the benefits that we are getting by introducing this index file along with the data file. So, whenever you want to insert a record in this particular technique, in order to maintain the sequence of records, sometimes this may necessitate shifting subsequent records. So, when we were talking about the sequential access technique, there we were talking about the order also. So, it should be, the record should be ordered. Here also we are talking about the sequence of records. However, when some data is stored, data in the data blocks, and their pointers are being stored in the index file along with the primary keys, suppose if you want to insert a record, you have to substantially move the block, data block also to some position. So, there may be some sort of overflow area, there may not be some space in between the records. So, it has to maintain a overflow area, and whenever the overflow area is maintained apart from the data blocks differently, then once again a pointer needs to be thrown to that. So, let us see in the figurative way. So, here the original logical block is shown with some 5 records, 611, this is the key, primary key, 611 record, 612, 614, 618 and then 624. Then we want to insert here 615, a record with the primary key 615. So, as it is 611 will be there, 612 exists there, 614 also exists there. There we have to give the space to 615 record. So, we are moving 624 to overflow block, and then we are inserting the 615, then later on we are 618 is copied, and then a pointer is being supplied, is being given, or else is being pointed to the overflow block. So, let us see the advantages and disadvantages of ISAM. The advantages being, each record has its data block address, searching for a record in larger database is easy and quick with proper primary key. So, here you are maintaining the primary keys, and depending upon the primary key and the address pointer we are trying to retrieve. So, whatever the case may be, either it is a small database or larger databases, the retrieving is very easy with proper primary keys. So, the primary key, suppose if at all you are identifying only one column as the primary key, it will be very easy in order to identify a record and in order to point that particular pointer to the data block. Suppose if you are using some mixed key or else some sort of association of 2 keys into a primary key, then also it is well and good, but it takes some more additional time. Not only that, this method gives flexibility of using any column as key field, and index will be generated based on that. In addition to the primary key, indices can be maintained to other columns also. So, this is an additional advantage you will be getting. So, coming to it supports range retrieval, partial retrieval of records. Since the index is based on the key value, we can retrieve the data for the given range of values. Suppose if you are trying to identify 612 to 625, the range also you can specify. Not only the key value, you can specify the range also. So, disadvantages is nothing but additionally you are maintaining the index file. An extra cost to maintain index has to be afforded. As the new records are inserted, these files have to be restructured to maintain the sequence, and for that reason we are once again using that overflow block. Before going to the next session, let us sum up all the things whatever we had. We had studied the primary concept related to files, the file organization, the access methods, and the file organization techniques, namely sequential file organization and the random file organization technique. In the next session, we will be going through the next set of file organization techniques. Thank you.